I'll never forget, I was at my therapist's office once and I was explaining to her about how I felt like I should be further along, things should be differently, I should have done things differently in the past, yada yada. And she stopped me and she said, "Tyler, you have to stop shitting all over yourself." That took me aback because that was really a different way of reframing what I was going through. In life, it's normal to have expectations, plans, goals. I would even say that's healthy. But very often, expectations breed disappointment. Very often, these narratives in our head about how things should be define the path we're on. And it's a lot of wasted energy. I found in my own life that dedicating acceptance, energy towards accepting that which I cannot control, tends to get me further than any amount of planning. Very often, good planners, like myself, I fall into that category, run the risk of becoming hypervigilant, doing a lot of planning without a lot of action. As the saying goes, we make plans and God laughs. Point being is that acceptance, I think, is hardest to show when it's needed most. And that's something to keep in mind as we navigate our own expectations, shoulds, coulds, and woulds. I want to share with you one of the most helpful things that I do to combat my own anxiety when I feel it coming on, and it's called taking a beat. Mindfulness is great, but sometimes we find ourselves in a bit of a downward spiral if we're triggered by something, and so when we do, one of the best ways that we can combat it is momentarily, ever so briefly, being the observer of our thoughts. Taking a beat means to be conscious of your awareness and what your awareness is experiencing, realizing that you are not defined by that experience as much as you're just the observer of it. That sounds nice and airy-fairy, but there's a lot of practical ways that we can actually bring mindfulness to our awareness. And these things don't have to be elaborate rituals. In fact, they shouldn't be. They should be brief, easy to do. Now, most of us are aware of the traditional grounding techniques, like being aware of our breath, or closing our eyes and focusing on the darkness. But there's other ways, more practical ways, that we can center ourselves. One way is when you find yourself spiraling, close your eyes, envision stop, but take it letter by letter, S-T-O-P. Just taking that moment of redirecting your focus into something else is enough sometimes to help us gather our bearings. Lately, I've been getting into athleticism, as you can see with the gun show going on, but actually taking moments of physical exercise can actually be a way of shaking off emotional energy. I remember when I sat with the dog whisperer, Cesar Millan, and he made a really interesting point that reflected the human experience as seen in dogs. He made the point that when dogs are injured or after they've experienced some physical trauma, they physically tend to shake off their body. They shake off the pain of the experience. And human beings equally can do something similar by shaking off through physical exercise what we're going through. Other people find that taking a moment to make their body physically larger, putting their hands over their head, doing jumping jacks, all of these things can help kind of expand our body, and studies have shown to make very real chemical changes in the mind and the body that help make us feel a little bit more confident. All that to say, it's important that we not view meditation as this long, drawn-out process. There's little practical moments that we can do, little beats we can take that help us combat anxiety as it happens.